Please welcome to the stage CCC AOE Executive Director Amy Christensen.
All right, welcome back from break. We're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. I believe we're live and ready to go, so welcome. So I am very, very, very excited this afternoon to introduce our next panel. Our panel is a group of passionate individuals on how they are working together to increase opportunities for diverse, underserved populations to obtain career opportunities for mental and behavioral health field. And I found them through a conversation with a colleague, and they are the absolute example of what we were just talking about. How do we partner to support our students in K-12 and community colleges? How do we bring them together, and how do we create a pipeline? So I am going to invite them to the stage and they can take their seats. We have Terry Carpenter from the Sacramento Employment and Training Agency. We have Lisa from American River College, Diana from Turning Point Community Programs, and I'm going to say this wrong, Jailene, sorry, she's a first generation Hmong American college graduate with the Health and Education Council. So warm round of welcome to them. And I'll turn it over to Bina.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're well. Hello. Thank you. So Bina Lefkowitz, I am a consultant in Sacramento, but I'm also a trustee on the County Board of Education and excited to be here today. And so we will be sharing our journey to create a collaborative that supports our own pathway into the behavioral health field. And we hope through our story, you'll glean a few lessons learned and what not to do as we have done our pathway development, and that'll be informative to you. In Sacramento, we probably have a core group of 12 leaders from different sectors of the community who've come together with about another 40 stakeholders. And they're all coming together to support this pathway development work. So today you get to meet 4 of our awesome leaders here. And they're going to share the critical roles that they have played in making this happen. And so I'm going to have each of them introduce themselves, and then we'll kind of do a round of questions, and then we'll take your questions at the end. So Terry, I think you're up first.
Good afternoon. Ooh, it's working now. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Terry Carpenter. I'm a workforce development manager for the Sacramento Employment and Training Agency, which is your local workforce board here in Sacramento County. And our mission is to help build pipelines of talent for many industries in our community that need additional training or additional services to move them forward. So it's nice to be here, and I'm going to hand it over to my associate.
Hi, everyone. This is so different from Zoom. I'm Jailene. I'm a program assistant for Health Education Council, and I support our neighborhood safety programs as well as our youth engagement programs as well. I also support our Live Well South Sac collective group, so we do a lot of work in the community regarding health and new resources and services, and I'll pass it off to the next person.
Hi, Diana White. I'm Chief Operations Officer for Turning Point Community Programs. We're a nonprofit mental health agency headquartered in Sacramento.
And yes, this is working too. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Bertosini, and I'm full-time professor with American River College and part of the team that is bringing an apprenticeship program to our area. Thanks.
Great. And, I realized I wanted you also to mention why you got involved in this collaborative work together, and maybe just, I think you might have said this, but kind of your, how you came into the work. So Terry?
So I will start. As I mentioned, I represent, I'm a workforce development manager, and my whole focus is, how do we develop our workforce for our community, for the employers, for our educators, for all of our stakeholders in our community. So for me, basically in 2019, I went to a youth conference sponsored by the California Workforce Association, and they had a workshop on mental behavioral health program that they launched in San Diego. Actually, Bina and I attended that workshop, and that was the seed that was planted for us to come back to Sacramento and look at ways that we could impact our young people to be more inspired to pursue the mental behavioral health career pathway. But then, just right around that corner was that thing that we call COVID hit. And that really changed the whole landscape of mental behavioral health, especially in the services that were needed by our young people in our schools and in our community, which really motivated us to do an even more deeper dive in how we could put together some programs where young people could empower and reach out to each other and help themselves through what we call peer specialists or peer-to-peer help. And I think that is a good segue to turn it over to Jailene.
I started working with Health Education Council since last year, and I actually was a participant of the first cohort in Peers Helping Peers. And so after going through that 7-week program, I already knew that I wanted to work with my supervisor. Shout out to Chris Cooper. He was an amazing mentor. And I just knew that the work that we aspire to do within our communities alongside the youth, I just knew that I wanted to at least take lead on that. Also all throughout undergrad, I've always been involved with other volunteering opportunities, whether it be putting together a health fair, working with other high school students to staff the event, or even just supporting the community in all the ways possible. And so I will pass it off to the next person.
So we had been experiencing more and more difficulty finding individuals with the credentials and experience to work in our programs. And right now, we have an incredible shortage of behavioral health workers in California and in Sacramento County terribly, and in California as a whole. So there had been a lot of talk about building pipelines to clinicians and starting to work with community colleges to make some of this happen in a more quick time frame. So I was approached by someone involved with the project to just start getting some information about what are the qualifications you need, what are the names for the positions you have, just in that initial fact finding. I have another role as president of the Association for Behavioral Health Contractors for Sacramento County, and that was the reason that she leaked up to me, because figured I could get feedback from lots of behavioral health providers. But then when they started to put the behavioral health apprenticeship program together, and I had the opportunity to be a part of it, it just seemed like such an important thing to start to rebuild our behavioral health workforce. So.
And then for me, my primary job with American River College is to run our internship programs. And we have 2 programs that have been really successful that have been developed over many years for chemical dependency and also for human services. So I had some exposure to the world of internships. But when I started working at ARC, it was part-time, and it was because I was full-time working in community mental health in the same system that Diana is a part of. And so having spent a lifetime in the world of community health and knowing what the needs are there, I was thrilled at the thought of having an opportunity to bring in an apprenticeship program that focused on behavioral health, and specific the mental health piece, that could bring young adults, but individuals at any age, into the workforce in a way that could be influenced by the training that we think is really top notch and that we like to provide our students. So that's why I was very interested.
Great, thank you. So what you have here are 4 people who basically didn't know each other about 2 years ago. And as we have started to do this work together, we've created all these incredible relationships, not with just this 4. So I want each of them now to describe what we did to move from basically nothing to what our current set of projects and partnerships are, so that you all can understand kind of what we did. We just talked about why we're engaged. Now we want to talk about what we are doing.
So as you can see on the screen, I'm kind of laid out the timeline of this mental behavioral health pathway work. Really, after we came back from the conference, we were really on a mission to put some type of program together for our young people. And there was a grant opportunity that came out, and we partnered with the Health Education Council. We were awarded that grant, and we launched the Peers Helping Peers program, which was a community-based mental health exposure program to young people 16 to 24. And they went through a 7-week training program, and they were then placed in a paid internship program. In our partnership with the Health Education Council, our role was the work readiness and the internship development piece. And it was when we started reaching out to the employers in the mental behavioral health field that we realized that there was a huge talent shortage along the entire continuum of occupations within the field. And putting my workforce development hat on, it's like, oh, my job is to address that talent pool shortage. So I started thinking, oh my gosh, what are the ways that we can do this? And we just started from Peers Helping Peers. Then we were able to get another grant from the State Workforce Board. And that's really when we were able to launch our Grow Your Own MBH talent initiative. And so we were able to get funding to move the career pathway work, starting with our young people and exposing them through the Peers Helping Peers. Then we did a workforce assessment through Los Rios Community College, which really gave us a picture of the landscape of the workforce in the region. That's when we realized we really needed to attract more diversity, more language capability, and we really needed to reach out to males. There was a significant deficit in the male population in the industry sector. So with all that movement, we had stakeholders from education, the employer community, our community-based organizations, our K-12 partners, and we just banded together as a loose collective because we really were empowered and we all were passionate about developing a solution for this talent shortage. And then we started discussing apprenticeship opportunities. And that's how we started the movement of putting together an apprenticeship. Los Rios was already a partner in this initiative. And so we just kept moving it forward. And we'll give you more specifics as I let my team here talk. So I'm going to hand it over to Jailene because she can give you a little more about Peers Helping Peers and how we springboarded to the apprenticeship. And Lisa and Diana can tell more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I got the full circle experience first as a participant and then as a staff. I think that my decision to onboard as an employee for HEC really opened me up to a lot more opportunities. So connecting with all these wonderful people here, maintaining partnerships throughout the 7-week programs, and then of course, identifying partners to facilitate at our 7-week training. I'll actually go into depth with our PHP program. So throughout those 7 weeks, we would invite some external partners to present on mental health basics, how to find healing within the space, substance abuse prevention and intervention, restorative justice, as well as adverse childhood experiences, and how to build those healthy relationships. And in addition to that, we also had partners from Aseta, Jessica, and Ben to come in for job readiness and just professional development. So when they would transition out of that 7-week program, they would enter a 40 to 80-hour internship. I unfortunately did not get to intern for any other external partner except for HEC because I was already hired as a staff, which I was really excited about because at the time I was working minimum hours of 20 and it was broken down throughout that week. And I just knew that I wanted to hit the ground running. So just investing more time into, as a new program assistant, just investing more time, familiarizing myself with HEC, all their programs and their collective groups. Let's see. I also contributed to our PHP program by implementing the social change project. Throughout undergrad, I partook in that in one of my ethnic studies classes, and I just thought it was a wonderful way to dive deep into your passions. And I think all of our youth that I worked with, they had a passion for serving their community. So through that social change project, although it was conceptualized, they were able to present within their group and share any social issues that they find in their communities or within their neighboring communities. And so we had really vulnerable and really deep conversations around hopelessness and poverty, police brutality, especially with our social climate now. And we've also had some folks discuss more about gender inequality, how that would translate into medicine and whatnot. And so just spending my time, a majority of my time with these youth for, I believe, 5 cohorts. And in total, we served 90 students, or at least 90 youth. I just found that a remarkable, or at least such a unique experience for myself, because I think COVID provided or had a lot of barriers through virtual programming or just connecting with people in general. So I think that our PHP program provided an opportunity for youth to connect, even if it was in a virtual space. I also wanted to add that we included a Trailblazer check-in. So just having one-on-one time with our youth outside of our 7-week training, and of course, supporting them throughout their internships as well. I think a lot of our youth were excited to gain some experience through their internships, but we're also nervous because of just some transition into the virtual space and whatnot. So I myself, I found some mentors or some amazing mentors through HEC, and I'm just glad that I was able to provide the same kind of mentorship to our youth. All right.
And in my role with the association, at some point we were asked if the association could be a sponsor for the developing apprenticeship, because there are some dedicated employers there who could potentially be the work experience for those apprentices. So they were nice enough. I asked them to please do a presentation to the association so everybody could get a sense of what this is, what it meant. And they were very nice to oblige us with that. And from there, we were able to bring on 3 other employers, Stars Behavioral Health, Pacific Clinics, formerly Uplift Family Services. Sorry, they just changed their name, and WellSpace Health. So they all agreed to partner with us and start to meet around putting the meat on the bones of what that apprenticeship would look like, which includes what the pay structures would be, what is the coursework, what kind of experience can we give them, what are the minimum qualifications. And luckily, they're very nice and accommodating partners that we have, because all of our pay ranges, our benefits, everything was a little bit different. But for the apprentices, it really had to be consistent across the board. So luckily, we were all able to come to agreement on what that was like. And so since then, we've really been meeting regularly to get the final pieces together on this, and are very excited to start to launch with actual apprentices.
So yeah, so just to pick up where Diana left off, we're just now finalizing the standards that need to be accepted and written into language that the state and the federal parts of this collaboration need. So it's the Department of Labor and the Division of Standards. And really how I got involved in this to begin with was as the faculty who seemed to have the most resonance with the apprenticeship idea because of my work in the internship field and in work development in that aspect. And so I was brought onto a committee that already existed. Diana, I think you were already a part of it. You may have met a little bit before I came on board. And since my arrival, we focused on the things that Diana has been talking about. And in particular for the RSI, the related supplemental instruction, we finally did get to yes on the number of courses we're going to be offering and how that's going to roll out. And in the interim also, we're fortunate to receive a California Apprenticeship Initiative grant. So we received $500,000 for our apprenticeship program to start rolling out as of the beginning of this month. And so what's happening next for all of us is to figure out how we're going to do a robust recruitment so that we can seek diverse applicants into this apprenticeship idea and have courses and the program itself roll out no later than this coming fall.
Okay, so we basically told you what each of them have done. So Terry, with the head of the workforce piece, just to kind of do a quick summary, we started Peers Helping Peers, which is our youth program piece, and really helped get young people engaged, you know, at the high school level, high school to 24, engaged in thinking about careers in this sector. And we have some, and Terry's going to talk a little more, but we have some ongoing efforts to engage teens and young people in this work. And then in addition, we started along the apprenticeship route, which is where Diana and Lisa came in. And so we kind of, and Terry's going to tell you in a sec here, kind of what the structure looks like. But those are the pieces that, just to summarize, those are some of the pieces that they all shared with you. And so with that, Terry's going to talk about the structure of the Grow Your Own, and then we're going to go to each person, and we want them to talk a little bit about kind of what they've learned, what's worked, what some of the challenges have been. So Terry?
So as you can see, we all had our pieces and we were all working together. And really the impetus that started this work was when we got the accelerator grant that I mentioned. And that's when we launched your Grow Your Own MBH Talent Initiative. And through that grant funding, we formed the MBH Advisory Group. We have some of our members are represented here today. And, you know, our vision is to increase opportunities for diverse, underserved populations to obtain a career in opportunities in the MBH field. Our project goals are, we really want to try to move peer specialist certification forward. California was one of the last states that actually have certification for peer specialists. We are finalizing our paraprofessional MBH apprenticeship program through Los Rios and the Association of Behavioral Health Contractors of Sacramento. We are in the process of developing a very robust interactive career pathway map that can take you from high school all the way to post-secondary to the master's, and showing opportunities of the employment for each level of education. But as we know that most people don't start from A to Z in their careers, there's on-ramps and there's off-ramps, and we want to make sure this interactive map can speak to all of those individuals and their situations where they may start, get their AA degree, go to work, and then get you know, passionate about what they're doing and want to pursue further education, maybe even become a licensed professional in the field. So we want to be able to give them the tools to make those decisions. The other piece is really a significant internship program where we're taking young people that are enrolled in a program of study that's related to the MBH field, such as social service degrees, and we're placing them in a 200-hour paid internship opportunity. And I don't know if any of you saw the news recently, but Michigan State, the students that are enrolled in the mental behavioral health programs there actually walked out because there's no paid internships available. So we're trying to keep that, set the bar, and we've gotten a lot of support from the community. The students just and the instructors and the educators from all levels. It's just been really, this is what's needed. So we're hoping we can expand that opportunity, and an opportunity did present itself with another grant in the fall of last year. It was the Equity and Special Populations Grant, and we were able to obtain additional funding to put 35 young people or young adults through peer specialist training. We're going to work with them to get their certification once the state has kind of finalized that the authoring body for that certification. They will be placed in paid internships, or they will be placed in a paid on the job training opportunity. So we've been able, in less than probably 9 months, been able to develop 55 different opportunities, paid opportunities, including training for the field. Our next level is we really want to take the next step and see where we can move additional folks across that pipeline. And the Mental Behavioral Health Advisory Group, we're hoping will be serving as a body for this region to keep this work moving forward, even as maybe these grants may come and go, but we need to make sure that our community stakeholders are still engaged to continue this work. And we really feel that we'll be able to keep that going. We have a lot of passionate people involved. So that's kind of an overview of the talent pipeline, the Grow Your Own Talent Pipeline initiative. And so now I'm going to turn it over to my partners here who can talk about their perspective of the work.
Yeah, so any lessons learned or challenges that you want to address?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges we faced while facilitating or managing peers helping peers was maintaining communication or engagement with our alumni. After they complete their 7-week training, they receive a $300 stipend. And of course, after they complete their internship, they're already paid. So there's not really much of a commitment or obligation to us anymore. However, we've been able to maintain communication by blasting out any internships or employment opportunities that come by from our employers, open up some ways to engage with them either at a social event. We actually threw one, or at least hosted an alumni social event in August. So I think it was just wonderful for all of us to see each other in person. Another way that we've been able to tackle that challenge is by encouraging our alumni to return and possibly provide some opportunities for us to collaborate. One of our alumni actually discussed that they wanted to put on a student conference for high schoolers, mainly in the mental health, or not the mental health, but the healthcare and the medical field. And so we've been working closely with them to identify some partners or identify ways that we could support them. I think that's about it for our challenges. I think if there's anything that we've wanted to really focus on was spotlighting our alumni and letting them know that even if they don't need support with obtaining a job or an internship right now, that we've been able to nurture that relationship with them. That way, they needed something in a year or two to come, we're right beside them, supporting them.
And I think what I've learned during this process and what has worked really well, I think having an association with a lot of employers that meet together helps to get the word out and to really form those collaborative relationships and recruit into providing those paid opportunities for work. So I think it was Julie Holt who first reached out to me, and I think that was very smart and wound up working good and helped to push this along really well. What also worked was not feeling bad about feeling really dumb, because it was complex and took a lot of learning, and I'm still learning, and I don't know what I don't know, but I learn every time we meet together. So having trust that it'll kind of roll out and that you'll learn it and that we can stick with it and just be open and be willing to learn about it and talk to each other about what we don't know. It's been a really open and collaborative group. And so that has been key, because apprenticeships are pretty complex beasts. So building those partnerships so that we could really build an infrastructure that would launch successfully, so that we could expand our workforce, but also expand the diversity of our workforce. There's dollars now for individuals who may never have seen themselves going to college or haven't had that model available to them for whatever reason, that they can now do that and get paid for the work experience and start to try that on. And hopefully, as Terry said, continue, see that I can do this. This isn't so bad. I continue. And I can work in the field, and then I can go on and maybe get some more degrees in the field and really start to hit all levels of that behavioral health need. So that's been really exciting. And I would say that the challenges are much like I said before, just understanding what's required, really understanding all the pieces you have to put together. Getting employers to agree to come on. Luckily, there was a whole group, and some of them thought, I don't know if this will work for me, but there was a few brave ones who said, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. We'll be a part of it. So that was a worry at first, but it wound up being really good. We have good partners at the table, and they've all been really open and willing to learn along with us and figure this out and see how it could benefit not only the organizations that we're involved with, but the community as a whole, which is the overall goal.
So thanks. I wanted to just sort of take a step to the side for a little bit and say that, speak about values, because I think it was the shared values that happened to be playing out right in the committee that I was asked to join that really have helped us see our way through some of the challenging times when we weren't using terms the same way, had a different understanding of what maybe needed to happen. And I know I still leave each meeting with a whole series of questions I need to follow up on at the next one, because something new has been uncovered in a way I hadn't understood before, and I'm seeking that clarification. But all of us seek that clarification, the understanding that each of us is coming to the table with this really very pure intent, and that we all want the same thing. And it's what Diana was just talking about. We want to do the best we can to be sure that people who are in need of services in our community get excellent providers of that service. And we know in order to do that, we need to do things a little differently than we've done up until now. So this opportunity with the apprenticeship program is to really reach as to yet unattained individuals who are in the community, who are eager to do this kind of thing, who also have a passion in their soul for the kind of community mental health work that's required and behavioral health work that's required in these positions, and to give them an opportunity to provide services to individuals who may be like them, but also in need of services at the same time. So I would say that it's our value base that really helped us move forward through the challenging times. And even the fact that I'm on this panel and I work closely with Diana now on this initiative, but not as close at all with Jilene, just learned about her through this panel and the work that you're doing. And Terry, even more so, she participates in our meetings, but is an observer and a mentor to us in the process. It's not surprising that I find myself on this panel with a youth who has some lived experience and is in a leadership position. And it's the kind of model that speaks so closely to me and that I'm so eager to bring on board through the training that we can do at ARC, and then through the hands-on job training that individuals are going to get in the community with the employers that are part of our team. And I think the only thing I would add to what I said is that is something that I referenced already, which is that the challenges are very similar to what we've already heard spoken about. This is a really new terrain, and we want to do it right, and we have an opportunity to really do it better. And so taking the time with process each step of the way and making sure that we're able to get to the diverse communities that we want to and provide supports in a way that will ensure success is part of what I'm hoping we're going to be able to do. Thanks.
Great. Did you want to say anything?
As far as what I'm hoping for is that we can continue to provide more internships so that the students in these programs of study can get their practicum hours that's required in order to get their degree or license, and be able to offer more paid opportunities for these students is my goal. And really bringing the employer community along to really support the students, and they're very, and looking at how we can increase supervisor ratios so that we can actually provide more opportunities for those students to get the number of license and the required hours that they need to move forward. So my goal is, that's my goal.
Thanks, Terry. So I think we tried to tell a story, a very grassroots effort, that organic effort that came together with people who had a shared passion, who saw a problem in our community, who are very youth focused, and we engage youth as much as we can in this work. We have tried to, we've built a lot of relationships. We have really critical partners around the table. We also, some people that aren't here that I want to just mention is we have the county mental health department seems pretty vested in this and is part of our collaborative. The County Office of Ed, which is the place that I represent, our superintendent is very interested in this and has an initiative to put a social worker in every school. So he has a motivation to build pathways into mental health because we don't have 300 mental health workers we can hire tomorrow, and we have 300 schools. One thing I love about this group is they kind of are undaunted in terms of we're really looking for what the systemic barriers are or the program barriers, and we're all like coming together to problem solve and figure out how can we get around the barrier or change the policy or the practice. So that's our story. We want to give you all a chance to ask questions, and then we'll do probably some closing comments. Yes, please.
Yes, so I can answer that question. Right now, we're paying the minimum wage $15 an hour. The internships are 200 hours. We did learn through our PHP experience that anything less than 200 hours isn't really worth the time and the effort for both the employer or the student, to be honest. We have a contract with the Community College Foundation's Intern Source. So they are the employer of record that covers the liability, processes the payroll. That really is a win-win for an agency like ours that is trying to move these internships forward, and especially for the employers. They get to spend more time in offering more robust internship opportunities than worrying about the liability or the payroll or processing their timesheets. We support all that effort in the initiatives so they can really do what they need to give that intern a great experience. So that was the one question. And oh, right. So right now, the 25 interns that we are speaking of that we're placing right now, they just need to really be in a program of study at a community college, at the university, or come from one of our community-based training peer specialist type programs, such as Peers Helping Peers, and we're trying to move them along that continuum. So it's entry-leveled, an AA degree, or someone that's a BA program, or even masters. We have master's students that are participating in the program. So that's, and we're looking for diversity. That is really the number one criteria, is diversity. And we want to make sure they're not really employed somewhere else, because we're trying to offer the experience, the paid opportunities for those who need to gain that experience, put it on their resume, and move it forward for their education.
So that's the internship. Just Diana could speak just a minute to the apprenticeship salaries, and this was a little controversial, so we'll
So yeah, a group of employers getting together and all having different systems and figuring out what to pay. So if I'm remembering, it's 16 to start, I believe so. 1650 to start. Yeah. Which we would like it to be higher. Hopefully it will go up higher, but for a starting position in behavioral health. And our minimum qualifications are really minimum, you know, high school education, and they would be in the study in there and then come and work in one of the employment partner agencies. I anticipate that we could have some frontline employees now who never saw a way to get college units, increase their skills, and increase their marketability and ability to pull down more pay right from our own programs, and maybe individuals again who've been working there in those frontline positions who didn't see an option for increasing that education before and being able to climb a career ladder in that way. So both people who have not been in the field before, people who are in the field and want to increase their skills and get those college units. We're just very excited to bring them on.
I just wanted to add too, with the apprenticeship program, there is built-in wage increases as they move along. So they come in at 1650, but by the time they end their apprenticeship, the classroom training, I believe they're at 1950, correct?
And I would say is the minimum. So as employers, we can choose to pay them more than that, though that's the minimum salary that they need to make.
Great. And I was just going to add, Bina, that contrary to how it usually is in the community college system, that, where the student enrolls in the community college, decides what it is they're going to be studying and that kind of thing. This is what we're doing, is recruiting out in the community, although the apprentices could come from the workforces that Diana's already talking about, or from the classrooms that I'm teaching. But it's an opportunity to go directly to the community. And then if they decide, yes, this is a good fit, we'd like to be an apprentice, then we have the process for enrolling them. And some of you may have already realized that that's what happens, but it's a little different than how it usually rolls out in a community college.
Great, thank you. Were there all the way in the back there? Yeah.
So when we started the Peers Helping Peers, we recruited through all the high schools where we have relationships with all the districts, especially the career education coordinators or staff. And so we really reached out to all of our systems. We have a model where we reproduce we have an outreach piece that has that QR code, so the students can scan their phone and they go right to the applications online. Everything was online, so that we made it really easy for them to apply. There was for the Peers Helping Peers, we did a orientation session to make sure that they knew it was a 7-week program, and they make sure that they would be committed, and really did an interview process with them. Then they were selected to be part of the program. The criteria for that was, can you commit to those 7 weeks and the internship, and have the right to work docs so we could place them in the internship, was one of the pieces that was necessary that they have. And then really it was just their desire, and we wanted to focus on diversity for the young people as well, but we really maximized our outreach through our school systems, our high school systems.
And another goal we have with the K-12 is, so we have, some of our high schools have career pathways, and so we have, we have 2 really solid health pathways in 2 different districts in our county, and then some other health pathways that aren't as developed. But one of our goals that we've been talking to the K-12 folks about is to figure out how to, one, make sure that there's a mental health component to the health pathway, a mental health education component. And then the second is we've been advocating that they create a summer program that would allow kids in the health pathways to come together in the summer in like a summer school, 2-week, 3-week, 4-week, however it gets designed, where they would do more education around mental health and then actually do hopefully paid internships as part of that summer program. So that's kind of one of our visions of where we want to go with our K-12 folks.
Yeah, that's definitely our goal. Black and Brown focus was for diversity. It was our focus. We engaged a number of our stakeholder organizations that have the relationships in their community with those individuals and those young people. We reached out to them specifically so that we could make sure that we were engaging them and they knew they had that opportunity. We really focused on, I would say we had at least, in Peers Helping Peers, Jolene, wasn't it probably at least 78% that were African-American or Hispanic participants. So we really did make a concentrated effort to walk the talk for our goals, really reach out to those community members that know their community and can help us. Trust and, trust is the key there. And making sure that we did have an equitable opportunity for the people that wanted to participate.
Yeah, I just want to give a plug to our community-based organizations in Sacramento. We have a lot of kind of culturally based organizations or organizations that are kind of more neighborhood-based. And HEC, one of the reasons we worked with them is they have a pretty strong network into the Latino community. And they also run some programs that attract African-American students. And so so again, work with your community-based organizations. They're a treasure and often overlooked. And second is we all came to this with an equity lens, and we're like, our goal is to diversify. We're not that interested in a lot of, middle-class white kids who have every opportunity. We had this lens that we were looking for, a more diverse group of students, and we dug into the community to do that. Any other questions? Oh, yes. Some other questions are on this side.
Now, I don't know if I've heard everything you said, but I'll try. I think I did, so I'll try to address it. Yes, I will say wages in the mental behavioral health field have been very low for way too long. As someone who came up from a frontline employee, I can tell you, working 2 jobs was not unheard of. I think that with everything that has happened, we are starting to see more of a push to increase wages across the system, especially considering what has happened to the workforce. And it's clear a lot of what happened to the workforce is that not only COVID, but the wages have been too low for too long. So I think, yes, that's something that employers need to keep talking about as we're able. Those wages do need to come up. I don't know what's led to the mental health field being a little bit undervalued for so long. Hopefully, now that the need is so great, maybe it'll get the attention it needs and more funding to help that. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, one of the system barriers is the county's reimbursement system. It's met most of the funding for the services that your agency and a lot of the mental health agencies provide is through Medi-Cal. And so our county, that's where we have some work to do with our county to get their reimbursement rates up a little bit, is one factor. So thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. So it sounds like we're ready to wrap up. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate you having us.
And our email is on the slide here. I tried to keep that up quite a bit. If you have an aha moment after the conference or tomorrow, please reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to talk with you about what we've been doing here in Sacramento. And thank you for your time today. We really are appreciative of it.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for putting the puzzle pieces together of how it happens from the ground up, grassroots, from students all the way through to employment and the agencies in between. Truly appreciate your time here today. And another round of applause. And thank you.
JobSpeaker is bridging the gap between education and employment for the skills-based economy. Working with community colleges across California, JobSpeaker helps educators align educational resources with student-desired career choices and deploy a career-oriented infrastructure to achieve that goal. JobSpeaker efficiently guides all students into and along their chosen pathway to ensure learning that prepares them for the world of work. Learn more at jobspeaker.com. Certiport, industry-recognized certifications for college and career readiness. Certiport is the leading provider of learning curriculum, practice tests, and performance-based IT certification exams that accelerate academic and career opportunities for learners. Certiport is dedicated to helping people succeed through industry-recognized certification. Our credentials are aimed at enhancing individual productivity, marketability, and value. Learn more at Certiport.com.